I think Georgia-Tennessee has game of the year potential here. Final score 44-41. Georgia outlasting Tennessee in overtime. And again, it was a game where you had multiple turns, you had multiple climaxes, you had moments where you thought Tennessee was going to blow Georgia out. You had moments, emotionally speaking, for those of you who like to only deal in the rational, I understand that anyone watching that first quarter probably thought that Georgia was going to stay in the game, rationally speaking. But emotionally, you get those, feelings, that gut feeling, that voice inside your head. First quarter, when towards the end, the win probability for Tennessee is an 84.5. You get the feeling, it's foot on the gas. Tennessee's not slowing down. They're not going to let this escape from them. Then you get to halftime, where 21-17 Georgia. Before I resume, please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bells, and comment your thoughts down below. I love your engagement. Don't just hit the notification bell for my main channel. Hit the bell for any team playlists attached to the video if interested. If your team is not there or you're not interested, please navigate to my home channel page. Check out the playlists tab. Your team will be there if it's a Power 4 team. And hit the notification bell so that you can get notified when I cover that specific team. If you want additional content, bonus content, sign up as a paid member of the channel with the appropriate tier. I also give priority reply to members. And check out our Discord server. It's free. You get to interact with me. I get to pop in there. And the Discord server will notify you when we go live or when I upload videos. Tennessee's only given a 64.1% chance to win pre-ESPN. And you think that Georgia's controlling this. They figured out that Tennessee offense a bit. They figured out Joey Aguilar. They probably have this in the bag. But let's see what happens after halftime, because for the first time in a Heupel versus Smart matchup, Tennessee's actually leading at the half. You get to about midway in the third quarter, just about midway, and Georgia is now favored to win. You get towards the end of the third quarter, and by this point, Joey Aguilar's kind of broken down a little bit. Aguilar has thrown, at that point, 2 interceptions, one in the second quarter, one in the third quarter. And you think, oh my gosh, 27-21 Georgia. It's not technically over, but Georgia scored 20 unanswered points. What are we going to do here? And then Chris Brazzell goes up and gets a 56-yard touchdown pass. I mean, Georgia, I think, has some issues at secondary. Yes, this is probably one of their weaker secondaries under Smart, but you got to give Aguilar credit for having guts and gumption, and Brazzell for making awesome possession catches multiple times, showcasing that while some of those may have been flukish, to a player like Brazzell, those are probably expected. You should expect him to have more games where he makes those wonderful catches. Tennessee ran tempo. Georgia tried to run more game control, but sometimes used tempo. At the end of the day, the reason Georgia won is because they broke 200 yards and averaged 4 per carry, and they really limited what Tennessee could do running the football, which left it up to more so chance plays, big plays, and Aguilar's arm. And while I think Aguilar's better than Nico, he's not consistent enough to not have some errant throws and turnovers and bad passes that force punts against a defensive mind like Glenn Schumann, Kirby Smart, and the talent on Georgia's defense. Georgia ran the ball better than Tennessee. That was kind of the interesting part of this game, is it was almost an inverse of last year's game, where the road team ran the football better and had the more questionable quarterback, and yet, well, they were able to run the football better, despite having, well, that's really where the similarities end there. At that point, the similarities are kind of the same as they ever were. That's that, really, when it comes down to it. The better team won. The better coach won. I think that if you are Tennessee, though, you got to feel pretty good about your situation. This is the closest Heupel's ever gotten. And I know that moral victories are kind of a pain and might be a little bit of a cliche. I know that. If you are Tennessee, you should be furious that you couldn't hold on to that 14-point lead. It's the biggest lead Heupel's ever had over Smart. Smart and their defensive minds kind of looked a little bit lost after that third touchdown, sort of in the sense of, I think we can stop them, but I no longer know what the outcome of the game is going to be. I'm not nearly as confident as I was. And yet, they were able to stay in the game, muster control, and they won. And you know what the moment of the game was that told me that Georgia was better coached than Tennessee? Those final timeouts before what would have been Tennessee's game-winning field goal. Smart didn't have to take those. You aren't going to save that much time. But he took those timeouts. He was coaching his defense. And he took them in such a way that it built up more pressure for that kicker, who the sideline announcers accurately told us was pretty nervous. And those timeouts, I think, also, what it did is it forced Tennessee to run more plays, and that forced a false start, which forced the kicker back 5 yards, and he shanks it. And then it goes to overtime, and we know how it goes. Georgia's rushing attack comes alive. They score a game-winning touchdown after a few plays, and Tennessee before that kicked a field goal. I think Smart's the best head coach in football. I think yesterday's game showed that. You lose control defensively. Your side of the ball loses control. Gunner Stockton's a little bit nervous, leaving the pocket when he doesn't have to. By the way, though, 300 passing yards for 9.8 yards per attempt and 2 touchdowns. I know Tennessee's corners were out. Still a really good game for him that hopefully should boost his confidence. My main takeaway from Georgia is that Smart's the best coach, and he finds ways to win no matter his situation. My biggest takeaway for Tennessee is that they're really there. They are. They're right there. I mean, in third down efficiency, they weren't much worse than Georgia. In terms of line of scrimmage, they sacked Stockton 3 times. They forced a fumble. Neither team really ran the ball extremely well. Georgia won there a little bit over Tennessee, but I think that's somewhat expected given Tennessee lost more on the O-line than Georgia did, and they don't have a very mobile QB. Meanwhile, Stockton's a true dual threat quarterback. And they traded punches through the air. Tennessee had the more up and down performance, more big plays through the air, but also the 2 interceptions. It was ultimately a really good game where if Tennessee has their 2 starting corners, they win. Straight up. Now, maybe if the game's played neutral field, it doesn't matter and Georgia wins more times than not regardless of roster health. If it were in Sanford, that would certainly be the case. But you have to be encouraged, right, a little bit if you're a Tennessee fan, right? Right? Or am I off base in saying that? Look at the rest of your schedule. You get Arkansas and Oklahoma at home. You should beat them. FPI through 3 games and a big game against Georgia, so now there's actual substance to your power rating since you've played a good opponent. They favor you to win those games. The only game you're going to be an underdog in, and this is just projected, we don't know, is the 3rd Saturday in October against Alabama on the road, and you can win that game. Tennessee has a better rushing offense than Alabama. I think Tennessee to this point probably has a better staff than Alabama after watching what they did against Georgia. We'll see, though. I still think Kalen DeBoer is a better coach than Heupel, and hopefully that doesn't offend too many people. But Heupel has built a program that certainly has fewer ups and downs than what DeBoer has had at Alabama thus far. And I think when healthy, that Tennessee defense is going to look better than it did against Georgia this past Saturday. I mean, they are right there. And if you're Tennessee, you went up against a great quarterback in Stockton. Stockton was underrated from day one in the preseason. He showed you Saturday why he's a good, and maybe even a greater near elite quarterback. Collegiately. NFL, he probably doesn't have much of a future there, but I think he is to them what Stetson Bennett was. I think there's a real thing there, like some real substance to that analogy. You went up against a good defense and you shredded them. They weren't hurt like your defense was, and you still cooked them. And Georgia's offense, they had a 46% success rate. I think Bobo called a wonderful game. And they averaged nearly a fourth of an expected point added per play. I mean, they had a, even factoring in the corner issues, and Tennessee's backup corners are better than a lot of starting corners, I think, than Georgia will face all year. Because you got some of the garbage opponents, you got teams that don't recruit at the same level Tennessee does, or other teams will be hurt. They had a really good game offensively. Georgia did. And they had I think, a good game defensively at different points, too. I think their secondary has some issues. I don't know if this defense is just good or it's elite, but Tennessee's offense is insanely good. And Heupel just had a really good game plan, and some lucky things went Tennessee's way. I don't exactly know. It's pretty early. One thing I can take away, though, for sure, is that these are both playoff teams, and I said both. I've had Georgia for a while as an underrated team who should have better, they should have more favoritism in terms of the public and college football fans viewing them as an actual national title contender. Many view them as a step below Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, Oregon now, Texas then in the preseason. I just never thought they were. I still sort of think that after watching this game, seeing Georgia's offense, knowing that on some of those long plays that, those could have been picks because Aguilar didn't throw the best balls, and they won't have to likely play a team of Tennessee's caliber on the road again. And Georgia's also young, so they should get better as the season goes on. Factoring all that in, I was very impressed with Tennessee. So even though we were right in the pick, we picked Georgia to win here, I was wrong about Tennessee being a little bit of a fake team that wasn't going to reload this year. They, from my estimation so far, they have reloaded. And that is a badge of honor for Tennessee to wear. As you are a program now that reloads to where you were the year prior. You do not rebuild. Thank you so much for watching College Football with Sam. Remember to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bells, and comment your thoughts down below. Again, for the notification bells, don't just hit the bell for my main channel, hit it for any team playlists attached, or if you're not interested in those teams, navigate to my channel homepage, to the playlists tab. There will be a playlist for your favorite team if it's a Power 4 team. Hit the notification bell for that playlist so you can get notified when I mention them or talk about the conference broadly that they reside in. If you want bonus content, sign up as a paid member. And our Discord server is totally free. You get to interact with me and several other diehard football fans in there. So do those things. Most of them are free. And if you want to go the extra mile, there's always the Patreon page and YouTube memberships.